Hello everyone, and welcome back to Homesteading Bartram Style. Today we're doing something just a little bit different. I'm actually going to do a little rework of the electrical system for my water heater. First and foremost, I'm not an electrician and this is for entertainment purposes only, just general info. So the water heater runs on 220 volts. And it's a 30 amp circuit. First thing that we do when you're dealing with anything electrical is you get rid of the juice on the main line that's feeding that circuit. So the breaker will be turned off first. Alright, so we're in here in my washroom, and basically ignore the breaker box as it is. I've got the front off of it. The water heater is noted WH right here, which is this actual breaker. Now we'll walk over. If there was juice on the water heater, that little light right there would be on. So we have effectively turned off the electric to the water heater at this time. So we got to pick out where we're going to put this hole through the floor for this wire that we got to feed down. So we're going to drill probably right about where that circle is. So let's get down here and we'll get you up close and personal with what's going on. So we're going to choose right about here, and well, we can get it right up next to it if we work real well here, like so. One hole down. Now all we got to do is get the wire fed through that and back up through the other hole that I'll show you in just a moment here. So right now we're sitting right next to the water heater again. And the place that I've chosen is basically right down in there. See if we can get you in here close to see what's going on. Right in there. Another hole made. Time for some fun now. I've got my son under the floor getting ready to grab this thing. He'll take hold of it and start pulling it down through little by little. And when you're feeding electric wire like this, it's always best if you can possibly keep it straight, so that it's easier to pull down through the holes and whatnot. And then when he gets it down here so far, there you go, that's the end. I've got it hooked up here at the top where I will make my connections. And then we'll go over here to where we got to pull it back up through. Okay, we're back here in the bathroom beside the water heater again. And in just a moment, we'll angle it just a little bit, Bradley. There you go. We'll pull this wire up all the way up here. Take up all the slack that there is. And then, well, a little more than what I thought there would be. Okay, is that it, Bradley? All right. Good job. Come on out of there. You're done. Okay, so we're back here in the closet again. And what you're seeing up there is the junction box. Now, by law, junction boxes are supposed to be in the open where you can get to them to check connections or make connections into them. they're not supposed to be behind a wall that is not able to be gotten to at any point in time. That's NEC code is what that really is. So basically, I've got to take, we've already killed the electric coming to this, which is this wire from the water heater that we're moving or removing, and then gonna undo what's there, take this new line, get it set up, and get it in place. What we're gonna do is get up here and undo what's here already, and then redo with the new. First thing we did was remove the electric from this, and that way we don't have to worry about getting electrical shock therapy or anything like that, because Lord knows that would not be fun. For anybody that has had their self shocked in the past, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, alrighty. So with 220, you literally have two 110 or 120, depending on how you want to call it. Typically, it is referred to as 240 volts AC, and basically your wire size and your breaker determines the amperage that you can draw on it. A orange coated wire like this is a 10 gauge wire, typically called 10-2 with ground. You've got 10 AWG solid copper wire, and those are the two jacketed or coated wires, and then you have a 10 AWG ground wire that is not coated at all. Depending on where you live, they may refer to it in the metric sense of things. I'm not certain what the metric equivalent is for the 10 gauge wire. Lord, that one was in there a bit. Alright, so straighten that wire out a bit so it makes it simpler to come through that harness, this stress relief. When you're using metal boxes, you're supposed to use these little wire strain relief devices, and what it does is it locks the wire in the harness until anything that's yanking or could yank on the wire doesn't, and can't undo anything that's done inside. Always be safe. Cut away from yourself if at all possible when doing this, or any type of cutting activity, because the last thing you need to do is cut into yourself. Doesn't feel good. Now, according to codes, although I'm not where there is codes, believe it or not, I'm out in the middle of the boonies. Basically, when you put your strain relief in, you want at least a 1/4 of an inch of the plastic covering, or the jacket covering the wire, to go through the strain relief completely, and that way there's no chance of your wire chafing on that metal. So that wire was twisted up pretty good earlier, the ground wire, And what I'm planning to do is the same thing again. Twist it till time ain't no more, till it's nice and tight and has plenty of good connection. And then once it's good and connected, it will not have any issues being able to carry electrical current whatsoever. Metal box, it doesn't matter if the ground touches the metal box. Actually, there's a ground point in the metal boxes if you want to use them. I prefer to run the ground solid, and from there we do white to white, black to black. Grab a pair of wire strippers and cutters. When you're twisting these wires, it's always best to twist clockwise. And the reason you twist clockwise is because of your wire nuts. Inside the wire nut, when you put it on, you're putting it on clockwise, all right? So that wire nut helps hold that connection together when it's all said and done. And sometimes when you do this, your wires, your actual coated wires, will twist up on you like that. Don't worry about that as long as you've got the room to do so, for the simple reason that it just helps to hold it together in the end. So it's nice and twisted, looks good. It's not going to come apart. When I put that on there, the wire nut, it'll stay put for the rest of eternity basically, until it needs removed or until I decide to remove it for some other reason. So get these two done now. Here. So then when you're done and you cut your wire ends, the excess off, what you're looking to do is to sort of make a small point on that, so that when you put your cap on, it will go further up on it. So now that part's done, we pull out our electrical tape because I can see copper. And although those wire nuts do a great job of covering the end and holding the wires together, it doesn't exactly cover the entire length of wire that was bared. So, standard black electrical tape. And again, we wrap clockwise. And what I'm doing is covering the bare area and then bringing it up over top of and incorporating the cap into this and sort of keeping my tape tight so that it will remain just that, nice and tight. Black tape is wonderful. The wire and tape, pull it, break it, unstick it, and there we go. So now is actually one of the more fun things to deal with when you're doing this. Getting these wires back in this box and keeping them from rubbing or making a mess later. So really what you do is just bend it, twist it, do whatever you need to do to get it down inside. And there we go. The cap will fit right over that. And now off to the bathroom. All right then. What you're looking at right now is the guts of my unfused or unfusable disconnect box that runs my water heater, or the juice to my water heater, should I say. So basically right now, the electric is off. I've undone the strain relief, and what I've got to do is remove the 220 input to it, which is the center legs. They say LINE on both of them. And there is one of these, it looks like this one, holds also the ground that I'll have to remove. So this part is actually pretty simple. It's much simpler than in there, to be honest. The ground can be undone with a square bit, like so. It's loose. The lines both are able to be undone with a standard straight bit or slotted screwdriver bit. And if you're wondering what that was, let's see what that was. That was the line. That ground is what's causing me all my problem at the moment. It's in there, and it was in there pretty dang gone solidly. So that isn't gonna help. I'm gonna have to dig at it a bit here. And then pull little by little out until I get it worked out here where I can remove it. Now then, let's see if that helped enough to get it to move a bit better here. The problem at the moment is no longer that ground wire, but this hot wire. And the box itself is fighting with me here. It's got a little peg in there that likes to. There we go. All right, so that one's out. Next is this one. Now, I've purposely left it a bit long so that I can maneuver it where I want it and bend it how I want it, like so. And then basically I will strip the jacket on it here and go from there. Find these. For anyone wondering how long I've been working with electric like this, the official number is about 20 years or more. I wired this whole house myself, along with the help of my little brother. He pitched in and helped me pull wiring and whatnot when it come time, as well as my wife. And I've done a little bit of this all my life, but my father actually taught me how to do a lot of what I do with my electrical stuff. When I was probably about 25, 26, I guess, I had bought a piece of property and it was in a major need of overhaul of electrical system altogether. And that's where I really got started doing it. So now our first thing that we have to do here, unspoken, but most all electricians will tell you, the first thing you always want to hook up is your bare metal ground. It's commonly referred to as the static ground. It's the very first thing that I always hook up, simply because you should to begin with, but other than that, the reason that you do is just for security. The bare metal ground is also known as earth ground. It's bonded in your main box, or is supposed to be, to a copper ground rod outside that goes 8 feet into the dirt. In West Virginia, we have, on all new installs, a rule that says we have to do 2 of those ground rods at a minimum of, I believe it's 8 feet apart. And the number 6 gauge ground has to run from one to the other unbroken and back to the main panel, where it is then bonded to your normal ground. Now let's have some fun getting this booger back in there. Screw plumb out. Oh, I see what I did. The other one is doubled, so this one doesn't really need to be. There we go. Get that screw started back in. Then switch out bits. And there we go. That thing's all tightened up now. So now we go back to dealing with the black wires and the 220s. So one of these lives here and the other one lives over here, like so. And then we'll push black to black and white to white from there. Looking at my old one here, I can see that on those I did strip back enough so I could double it up underneath of that big terminal screw. So again, we'll do the same thing and make sure that it's in there the way that we need it to be. Makes good solid connection that way. There we go. Twist a bit. And then it will go in its little slot just like so. Fun one might be this one to get in, as I can't really see what I'm doing here. I don't have a magnetic bit, not that it would help with that aluminum screw. So we'll play wise here and see if this helps. There we go. All right. So now I'll tighten it up in just a moment when I've got this one in place. If you notice, I give myself a little extra room when I'm doing this, so that with the wire, so if by chance I ever have to change something that makes me move it or something and it requires just a least bit more length, I've got it there to work with. Twist that around a little bit like so, and slide it up in there where it belongs. So make sure those are where they belong. And from there, got two things left to do. One, put the protective cap back in place here once I turn it around proper. Put that in like so, and our circuit. And then from there, the only thing left now is test fire, as we'll call it. Basically, got to flip a breaker. So let's walk with me and you'll see me flip a breaker. This one is our water heater. Hear that click? And that little green light I was telling you about earlier, there it is. So we have electric. Back to the water heater. And with that, I will say good evening. I've had a fun one explaining things to you and talking and going through this mess. Again, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If not, well, tell me why.